Hello and welcome to another episode of Judge of Character. As always, I'm your host, Steve. Well, St. Patrick's Day is almost upon us. You know what that means? It's time for the Boondock Saints drinking game! Yes, the Boondock Saints is a popular film to play around St. Paddy's Day, which makes sense considering it's about two Irish brothers in Boston taking vigilante justice against the seedy underworld. Since its release in 1999, the film has gone on to have a cult following with a very strong fan base. Myself included. But you might be surprised to learn that, despite having a very strong fan base, the film was not, and still isn't, very popular with film critics. Many of them paint the film as being a wannabe Tarantino flick with all the style but very little substance. A film filled with nothing but ultra-violence.
This would sharpen you up and make you ready for a bit of the old ultra-violence.
And unfortunately, I have to agree with them. No, I know, let it out, let it out. Give me your hate, I feed upon it. Don't get me wrong, this is still one of my favorite movies, but even I admit it's not the kind of film to win an Oscar. But the problems the film has aren't mine to talk about. I'll leave that for one of those internet film critics. My arena is characters. So tonight let's look at the main duo of the film. Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else in between, let's learn more about the McManus brothers, Connor and Murphy, from the Boondock Saints. First off, who are they? Connor and Murphy McManus are two Irish brothers based out of South Boston who, after getting into a fight with a couple of Russian mobsters, get a sudden epiphany.
Destroy all that which is evil, so that which is good may flourish.
And with that sudden brainstorm, the two brothers begin carving a bloody swath throughout the criminal element of Boston, using an excuse that pretty much amounts to this.
We're on a mission from God.
Yeah, that about sums them up. Now, as I said before, this is one of my favorite movies. But even a favorite can have a flaw. Or two. Or three, or... you get the idea. So what is it about the McManus brothers that makes them memorable characters? Honestly, not a whole lot. But before you come after me with the pitchforks and torches, hear me out. The brothers really don't have a whole lot to offer beyond them being snarky badasses who look cool and do a whole bunch of cool shit. But it's that very fact that they're rather flat characters that makes them memorable. You're probably scratching your head about all this, so allow me to elaborate. Way back in my very first episode, I mentioned how characters are one of the most important elements of storytelling. Without good characters, we often have a difficult time getting invested in the story, which is why it's important to have them. I still believe that no matter how good everything else in your story is, if you have shitty characters, the story suffers for it big time. But what I failed to mention is how there are exceptions to the rule. And the film Boondock Saints, as well as its main characters, are an exception. Generally speaking, flat characters, while less than appealing, do serve a purpose. Not every character in every story can be a finely crafted individual with a detailed backstory. You need some flat characters for your rounded ones to interact with so as to keep the story going. What you don't want is for your main characters to be flat themselves. When a main character, one of the people we're supposed to connect with, is flat, we can't really connect with them and therefore enjoy the story. Boondock Saints is one of a very select few in which the characters are still flat, but we find ourselves able to enjoy them, and even to a certain extent connect with them. Why is this? Well, you can chalk this up to simplicity itself. The McManus brothers are very simple characters in just about every aspect you can imagine. For instance, their personalities. Both brothers are rather outgoing and humorous, despite their grim behavior and acts of murder. They laugh and banter with each other and their good friend Rocco, a low-time delivery boy who works for the mob. Even when they are in the middle of a job, they can still find some time to mess with each other.
What the fuck are you doing? I'll tip her.
While the film doesn't really give us any solid, concrete reason for liking the brothers, such as a tragic backstory or some such, we end up liking them anyway on that personality alone. Let's face it, folks, they're funny. And even though they do some rather bad things, we often find ourselves laughing at them.
Nowhere. Where you going? Nowhere. That's right. What the fuck? Fuck! Who the fuck? Fuck this fucking! How did you two fucking There was a firefight!
What the hell is wrong with me? But certainly the fact that they're funny can't be the only thing that makes them great characters. What else could there be?
Shepherds we shall be, for thee, my lord, for thee. Power hath descended forth from thy hand. Our feet may swiftly carry out thy command. So we shall flow a river forth to thee, and teeming with souls shall it ever be. Nomine Patri et Filii, Spiritus Sancti.
Oh yeah. That. Yes, easily the biggest appeal of the films is the action, with bullets flying everywhere, blood aplenty, and more slow-mo shots than a Zack Snyder film. Okay, that last part isn't true, but there's a lot of slow-mo in this movie. You know, getting off topic for a minute, slow motion doesn't make everything epic. Does it? No, it doesn't. So what else can we contribute to the popularity of both the film and its characters? Perhaps it's the fact that these two are anti-heroes. You see, back in the 90s, anti-heroes were sort of a big thing. In fact, they were so common that they are considered their own trope. But is this what makes the Saints memorable, that they're anti-heroes? Simply put, no. I don't know if Troy Duffy, the director, was really trying to make a film that impressed upon us the significance of vigilantism or not. If he was, then he pretty much failed in that regard. At no point in watching this movie do we ever question the validity of what the brothers are doing. It's just never really treated as a serious factor, even though it's the main point of the whole film. Rather, the vigilante aspect is just what happens. We're never led to think more about it and its implications until the very end of the film, when various people are being interviewed about the Saints and whether or not they are in the right. Which leads us to this man.
Hell yeah, I believe in capital punishment. If they let me, I'd pull the switch. Where can I sign up? I'm ready to my on, okay? I'm ready to get busy, too. You know, I'm ready to get busy.
Dude! Relax. Take a breath. Let it go. Apart from that guy, most people who watch this film, including the more hardcore fans, don't ever really think about the vigilante themes and what they mean. They just watch the movie and love it. I mean, seriously, who watches this movie and thinks that hard about being some sort of punisher from God?
Time to do this.
I just had a really bad shiver go up my spine. Okay, so if it isn't the personality, the action in the film, or the overall anti-hero tendencies of the brothers, then what? Perhaps it's the actors? The McManus brothers are played by Sean Patrick Flannery and Norman Reedus, two actors who might as well be brothers in real life. Seriously, if you watch any footage of these two behind the scenes, you'd think they grew up together. This, of course, makes them perfect for the roles of the Saints. Their chemistry comes through on the screen, and it's easy to see just how much these two had a blast. While the roles aren't Oscar-worthy, they certainly do make everything greater. Yes, the film isn't perfect, but Flannery and Reedus do a fantastic job of playing these characters. This is one of those moments where even though the character might not be perfect, the performance of the actor more than makes up for it. And then there's the fact that this picture exists. I love these guys. So anyway, in the end, what makes these characters memorable? Not gonna lie, the Saints are not the most memorable characters I've ever featured on this show. Quite frankly, they just don't have that much going for them. Outside of their humor and all the action scenes in this film, the Saints haven't really done anything that would cement their place in cinema history. So why do we love this film? I think in order to answer that, I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again. So after watching this movie again, I think I finally figured out why this movie and its characters are so highly loved. It's a very basic and simple film. You know, a popcorn flick. The kind of movie you can watch without thinking too much on the subject. Which is actually recommended, since trying to think about this movie will likely lead you to pounding your head against the wall. Granted, it wouldn't be worse than trying to figure out a movie like Sharknado. Yeah. So basically, in the end, it comes down to the fact that this is one of those instances where a character is enjoyable despite their being flat. Just because the Boondock Saints and its characters aren't full to bursting with substance doesn't mean they can't be enjoyed. And I, for one, am certainly not going to ridicule you if you happen to like this movie. After all, who am I to talk? In any case, I'm your host Steve, reminding all of you, stay in character.
Flat? Flat. How dare you? Tell me one fucking reason why I shouldn't turn your head into a canoe right now.
Because you didn't say the prayer.
Touche.
I really gotta learn to watch what I say about certain fans.
Ha 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 ha!